Hey,
Hey Eric, how's it going?
going good, going good. Lots of good shows this season.
It is. I don't know. I feel like this is a pretty good season. There's a lot of like second seasons of things that are pretty hype. Although a lot of it is this isekai total crap that I don't know that I'm into. But
So I don't think they weren't intended to all come out at the same time. Like especially for the isekai shows, like a lot of them got delayed in 2020, and then it just so happens that everything that got delayed in 2020 got pushed to the first season of 2021. So now we have like 20 isekais, which is twice as many as normal.
this is just the life we leave now, or the life we lead now, rather.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm checking out the chat so that I can make sure we can see folks. If you have opinions about isekai or anything else, we want to hear from you. Always, we're available in the chat. If you have bad opinions, that's okay. We're gonna judge you harshly, but that's all right. That's what we're here for. I'm not saying Eric has bad opinions, but sometimes that happens. Sometimes that happens. Just to give a little disclaimer, everything that we are talking about today is available legally on streaming services in the United States. I don't know if it is in your country, depending on where you're coming from. Um, but we primarily are watching on Verve or Crunchyroll or Funimation. I don't think anything we're watching is on Amazon
Yeah,
this year.
all the
Or this
shows we're watching are either on the Verve, Crunchyroll, Funimation. So if you subscribe to those two, you can watch pretty much everything in this season. I don't think Prime really got any exclusives this season, to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah, the Prime exclusive I was most excited about when it came out was Dororo, and I watched a crap load of Dororo on Amazon Prime because it's a wonderful show.
Yeah,
But I haven't really watched
actually,
anything on Prime since.
I just remember. So there are like two shows in Netflix jail right now. V Stars you can't watch until I guess maybe like another 3 months because Netflix waits till they drop the dub and the sub at the same time.
Yeah.
But besides from that,
Okay. Cool. Well, let me see. First one is the
all
new
right.
Higurashi. So heads up, I didn't watch the old Higurashi, and I also didn't watch the first 13 episodes of this Higurashi.
You're
So I'm
going
picking
in
up
completely
on
new.
the
Um, so I love Higurashi. This is technically season 4 of Higurashi. And so like in terms of someone jumping in completely new, I'm not sure I can completely recommend jumping in completely new. Like if anything, you probably would want to watch, I don't know, the first couple episodes of the original Higurashi, but like you can if you absolutely want to.
So,
But
another disclaimer: we're going to talk about spoilers quite a bit
oh
because,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you kind of signed up for that by showing up for the show. Not gonna lie to you, but yeah.
yeah.
I,
Also, some of
I
the shows
watched
we're
the
going to talk about are a little violent. Higurashi, especially, is really bloody.
Yeah, I was gonna say I knew a little bit about it. That it's like a very violent show, and it's like I've watched a lot of AMVs to it where the girl's stabbing herself in the side of the head and stuff. I didn't know it was a
Yeah,
time loop show until I watched episode 14, but now I know that.
yeah.
So yeah.
So the thing about original Higurashi is that the very first season, you have no idea it's a time loop. What they do is like there's nothing in the show to suggest time travel is a thing. There's nothing in the show that suggests that magic is a thing. And so they just show you 3 episodes and like, oh, everyone dies. That's weird. And then they just go back and show you another 3 episodes that just like in a completely different scenario. And for the first season, you had no idea what was happening. You just thought you was watching like people having delusions, and you just were trying to piece it together. And then at the end of the first season, they were like, "Oh, it's a time loop. We've been going back in time the last whole season." And so this season kind of did the exact same thing. And in my opinion, it's a little bit too faithful to that model because it's like at this point we know that these time loops are worthless, and it's like the only one that matters is the one that you quote unquote win in. So it's like it's almost a little bit too faithful. But I mean, I think fans of the show will really enjoy it. I'm not sure this particular season is like good for newcomers though.
Well, Dex Slugs on the chats like says that old Higurashi is better. What do you think? Because I never watched old Higurashi.
So, in terms of season 1 as a whole, Old Higurashi is better because you get the question and answer arcs. In terms of this, like I really like first season of Higurashi is really hard to sit through because you literally don't know anything about what's happening, and you don't even know who the main character is in season 1. You don't find that out till season 2, and so at least with this one, the curtains get pulled back a little faster. Like you know who's the main character right off the bat. And so I can't really say that season one of Higurashi is better than season one of the new show, but overall, yes, as a whole, the original Higurashi probably is a little better.
Do you know if they're gonna keep with the same ending story for this? Is it like a complete retelling, or are they doing?
So
Is
this
this
is
like
the
a?
sequel.
It's got like
This is a
it's a
sequel.
sequel. Okay,
Yeah,
so
so
it's just
in
still
the
in the
original
time loop.
Higurashi, they eventually won. They eventually like got out. And the story about this one is that like 10 years later, the main character is like, "Oh, I'm living my life. I'm finally free of this hellish nightmare." And so and then like, "Nope, psych, you're going to get sent back in time again."
Oh
And it's like,
no!
"Dang."
Nice.
So it's like it's a sequel, but it's doing the exact same events. So it's weird.
Yeah. Well, Higurashi is done by Studio Passione. I don't know how you want to say that. I'm not French nor Japanese, so I don't know how either one says it. But I looked them up. They're a fairly new studio, like since 2011. The arts, I like the style. It's like that bubbly style. That I'm kind of into that. I think the character design's pretty good. But they're also working on a spin-off of Bean Bandit that Kenichi Sanada's doing, and I'm so excited. I found that out like 10 minutes before we started this segment, and now I'm like 800 kind of stoked about that. Bean Bandit is a spin-off of Gunsmith Cats, and if you've never seen Gunsmith Cats or Bean Bandit, highly 10 out of 10 would recommend. Yes, please bring me more Bean Bandit. I definitely kickstarted the Blu-rays of both of those and have received them.
So is
Gunsmith
that
Cats is
spinoff
actually
happening
pretty decent.
soon?
It says 2021. It got delayed. It was originally supposed to be like maybe the end of last year. But it's really cool. Gunsmith Cats manga is really long and good. It's got some things that are very not great for younger viewers. But it's still I wouldn't recommend it for everybody, but it's really 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 good and surprisingly hard to find, which is unfortunate. But now that they're re-releasing this stuff, they only ever made it. Gunsmith Cats was made into a 3-episode OVA, and then they had a spin-off OVA that's only like 45 minutes long for Bean Bandit. And both are available. Animego did this thing where they started with like I think Bubblegum Crisis, where they did Kickstarters for Blu-rays where they would upscale it and do all the work to upscale the Blu-rays or take them from Laserdiscs or whatever from the original Japanese sources and release them in the US. But it was only for people that really wanted it and they wanted to see the demand. But all of these Kickstarters I think have funded and they're really good. I'm happy somebody's doing it because I don't know, old weebs like me, we like stupid crap like this. So just
I'm trying to
you should
see
watch
if Gunsmith Cats is available for streaming anywhere. I'm not sure. It might
Bean
be hard
Bandit
to get a
was
hold of.
on Amazon Prime at one point because I watched it streaming before I got my Blu-rays in. But I'm not sure if Gunsmith Cats is. It's only 3-episode OVA, but there's a lot of
Yeah.
manga stories too. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. But we should move on.
Oh,
To
this
what I
one.
think is maybe my favorite thing that has come out.
I like it. I would not say it's my favorite. I mean, it's definitely is worth watching though. So
Oh,
Heaven's
so
Design Team is really good.
I just want to take a pause and say that so it's funny we were talking about Gunsmith Cats and Bean Bandit because literally freaking Perinja messaged that he can't hear us and I'm talking about Gunsmith Cats, which is like his favorite
Oh my
show,
god.
right when he can't hear us, which is funny, but whatever. Apparently Gunsmith Cats is on YouTube. That makes sense. I think Animego did release some
Oh.
stuff on YouTube. Yeah. Yeah, but back to Heaven's Design Team because I love Heaven's Design Team or Heaven's. Is it? Yeah, it's just a design team.
Yeah. So this show is about God creating the universe, and he makes a handful of animals, and he's like, "Oh, okay, I'm done. I don't feel like making the rest." So he outsources a team of angels in order to design the rest of the animals, and it's really funny because the designers are all like trying to compete with each other to make like the best animal, and God is like their client, so he has to approve or deny their suggestions, and he
Every
approves them
animal
for
needs
completely
more.
random reasons.
Every animal needs more lens flare, and it needs to pop a lot
Oh my
more.
god. I really did like the segment for the giraffe because it's very educational. Like I did
It
not know
is.
all these random giraffe facts, but
I feel
now I
like
do.
it's almost a misinterpretation of what design by committee actually functions like, though, because it's like, okay, all these people get together, and then the best of everybody's idea comes together for this animal. And some of them have crazy personalities and stuff, and we'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, this is not how design by committee actually works. All right, it's actually the opposite. Usually, you wind up with the worst parts of everybody's idea, the weird compromises and things. I liked it. I thought it was. I definitely think it's very interesting. They have a lot of different types of characters in it, which is good. I particularly like. I like all of them because I like the guy that wants to eat every animal because I really relate
Oh,
to that.
oh my God. Is this a segue
Like,
into
this
your next
sounds
segment? Is this...
delicious. Oh yeah, if you want to join us at 1:00 for the joy of eating, guess what? I'm going to talk about eating weird animals because that's in this
Yo,
segment today.
it was
Yeah,
all
no,
it was all planned. It was all planned.
Erik made a comment earlier, and I think it's correct. I think this show is definitely good for 5 episodes. I don't know if it's good for 13. Who knows? I don't know if we're going anywhere with it.
Yeah, I'm really interested in what how the dub comes out, because I think if the dub stays true to the source and it doesn't try to add in like extra appropriate or inappropriate jokes or anything, if they stay true to it, I think it actually would be really good for children. So, and because it's very educational. It felt like a lot of the facts that would learn like riding the safari bus at Disney World.
I don't know. I almost feel like this show should have been, or maybe could have been designed to be one of those 3-minute shows because it feels like the kind of format that could have been one of those 3-minute shows. You just
Oh
cut
yeah,
up
yeah.
little animal segments into it, and then you have an educational piece of it at the end. Because
Hmm.
it feels like a 4 coma comic. That's exactly what it feels like.
Pretty sure it was.
Like
Pretty
you
sure it
don't have a
was.
lot of depth. So, but I mean, hey, I'm not arguing because I usually hate like comedy anime. I have a really, really big chip on my shoulder for comedy anime because I think a lot of it is hot garbage. So I was pleasantly surprised at this. This was one that Erik picked for us for this. I didn't know anything about it, and I really liked it. I thought it was super duper cute. This is it's produced by Asahi Production, which is an older studio from 1973 that have produced a lot of, I don't know, random stuff. So I don't have a lot of there's not a lot of precedent to go back to and be like, it's just like this other show. It's really not. So
Yeah.
you got anything else for this show? Any other
No,
feelings,
no, no.
thoughts?
I think it's definitely worth watching. It's not something that you really have to commit a lot to. There doesn't seem to be an overarching plot, so you probably could just jump in any random episode. Actually,
Yeah, yeah. It's actually, I think it's pretty novel, I guess, for an anime. There is a character that is of ambiguous gender, defined as she, I think, in the show.
yeah,
And I mean, hey, awesome. I think there's an
yeah.
opportunity for a good casting for that on the dub side too, for representation as well.
Yep. And also, it was not blatantly put in your face, as in like it was. They didn't make a big deal out of it. They just said, "Hey, this character is she." Okay,
Yep.
no need of
Yep.
discussion. We're just moving on.
It was handled very well. So Cells at Work, Code Black. Fun times.
So,
I watched like 2 episodes of the first Cells at Work, and then I picked
same.
up here.
So I always wanted to watch the original one, or more of the original one, for the same reason that I thought for like Heaven Design Team can be really educational to children. And so I always wanted to watch the original one because I work at a
Don't
daycare,
pitch
so it's
this
like,
mission.
so it's funny because Cells at Work Code Black and the second season of the original Cells at Work are airing on the same day, right behind each other in Japan. And so the original Cells at Work I believe is trying to keep the same audience, where it's like, oh, you can, for children, for teenagers, young adults, while this one takes a much darker approach where it's like, oh, this is going to be violent, this is going to be like, we're dealing with much more serious diseases, like the human in episode 1 like is like a addicted to cigarettes and his whole body is shutting down. So it's
Well,
like
no,
this
he
is
was addicted, or they. I don't know. They don't really define. I don't know if it's a dude
oh
or
yeah,
you know
yeah, yeah,
what.
that's
Like,
true.
they really don't. But the person was addicted to cigarettes for like several years and then quit and then started again. And they think it's because of stress. Like they've been running on too
Yeah.
much stress and then they're hurting. But I don't know. This feels to me like a blatant morality tale wrapped up in busty anime chicks, okay? Because why is white blood cell got to be popping out of her top left and right? I mean, I
So
like boobs as much as the next person. Don't get me wrong. It just doesn't seem like it adds anything to this show in any way.
I think they wanted to do a complete flip of the original Cells at Work, because in original Cells at Work, red blood cell is a girl and in white blood cell is a guy. And and the guy is like a very like handsome, not quite macho, but he's like a really attractive guy that red blood cell is I guess attracted to. And so they wanted to swap this one up. And so I guess in order to give the handsomeness of the guy and transfer that over to Cold Black, they gave her big boobs and an open shirt. So I guess that was the best they could do. But it's supposed to be a complete flip.
I actually think the most realistic part of this entire episode for the first episode of this was the guy who's like the older red blood cell who's like, yeah, things are terrible, but I'm just going to keep my head down and get through it. And I'm like, that's too realistic. That's, God, you hitting too close to home here, all right, with like corporate environments. But I don't know. I expected it to be more, for them to do more with the risque stuff, because they called it like, you know, almost 18 plus or whatever. It's not an 18 plus show, but they kind of build it sort of like that when they're talking about it. I never read the manga for this or anything. But they didn't. I mean, like, white blood cell was barely in it until the end. Red blood cells turn into zombies when they get hit by the carbon dioxide, because they absorb all the carbon dioxide, and then it's like, you know, Walking Dead looking crap here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then from what I heard, people are saying that this season or at the end of this season they're going to try to tackle COVID, and I'm like, that's going to be I'm not. It might be too soon.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Might be a little bit too soon.
that is certainly a thing. Sure
Yeah,
is a thing.
it
But
sure is
yeah,
a thing. But
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this show yet. I thought the first series was pretty cute, and I like the concept. And I agree with you. I don't understand why they ran the second season and this at the same time on the same channel when
back to
you
back.
really split that up, you know.
Funny
So
thing though, from at least from what I can tell, it seems that Cells at Work regular airs at 11:30 at night, and then Cold Black airs at midnight. So they're technically listed on different days in Japan, but they're 30 minutes apart. And so
yeah,
that's the only thing that's the only way I can see that happening or understand why that is listed that way.
yeah.
Um,
I don't know.
but
This was not one of the more exciting ones that we watched this season. Although I guess it was interesting. I don't understand why she's got to have big old bazongas. Like, they're not even like well presented. You know, it's just
yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh, my shirt is
it's
popping
there.
open. I have big old bazongas. You know, like,
Yeah,
all right. I don't
I
know.
think
And
any other season this
I like
probably would have. I think any other season, this probably would have been like one of the top of the shows that are talked about. But this is just such a stacked season that I feel like people are like, oh yeah, it's more Cells at Work, it's violent. I got you.
Yeah, I don't know. You see, you keep saying that, but there's like a handful of things I'm excited about this season, but I don't know. I found a lot of gems last season. I really love Sports Climbing Girls, okay, and I was all about that nonsense. And there's I don't Heaven's Design Team is not going to do it for me for quirky, weird shows this season. It's just not. Like, I like the show a lot. I'm going to keep following it, but it's not the same level of thing for me. I don't know. I think I've only followed a handful of shows the last couple of seasons, so I don't
Yeah.
know. But we'll continue with Code Black like into the season at least a little bit. Just heads up for everybody, we followed a lot of shows for this episode, and we are definitely going to cut some and replace some based on things that have already come out.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
So I hate the main
Here is the
protagonist
great
of the
debate.
show.
Here is the
Oh,
great
there was a question
debate.
about the animation on Code Black. I thought the animation was really good. I have no complaints. It didn't stand out that much to me though, because it looked not indifferent enough from original Cells at Work.
For some
So
reason, I
I
can't
mean, it
pop
was
out the
good.
chat. I've been trying to pop out the chat so I can see it, but for some reason, Twitch is only giving me the like, I guess theater mode. I don't know. It's weird.
Oh, weird. I have it on my phone so that I can see it. But
Uh,
yeah, I don't know. I thought the animation was good for Cells at Work Code Black. It wasn't anything to write home about. When we get later to talk about a show that we're going to pick up starting next week, I will talk to you about a show that I might have watched, even if it wasn't interesting, just because the animation was stupid pretty. But yeah. Yeah, Quintessential Quintuplet Season 2. I've
okay.
not watched Season 1.
Okay, so
Only
you
watched...
missed the great waifu debate of 2019. You
I
missed
did. I
the the
did.
the the
I
the,
can
the,
tell you
the,
which one
the,
I
the
liked
fire and the
best.
brimstone. But this was a pretty big debate. Manga readers apparently manga readers are dead set that Nino is the best girl. The what is it? Nino is the
The
one,
angry
the angry one, the angry tsundere
one?
one. And they're
No,
like, oh, she gets so
no,
much better
no.
in the manga. I'm like,
I
no,
love
she's worst
Tsunderes, and
girl.
absolutely not. She was a jerk in the first episode of Season 2. She's a
She was a
jerk.
jerk
No,
all
throw
season
her out.
one.
Throw her
No,
out.
Nino is worst girl. But
I,
the
I
plot
can
of
be
this
I can be
show,
behind you on
the plot of this show is that there's five quintuplets that are all equally terrible at school. They literally get flat zeros on their tests, and so their dad hires a tutor for them that happens to be a student at their school, and so he's like flat broke, so he needs the money real bad, and so he's determined he's going to get all five of these girls like to at least passing marks, that way he can continue getting paid and support his like string budget income. And so the whole underlying plot is that um in season one it was revealed that he probably knew one of these girls when he was little, and one of these girls had a big influence on his life, and then like as a viewer, like, okay, you have to figure out which one was the one that he met and he's going to quote unquote marry or whatever.
In the first episode,
um
they go back in time and show him being a little prick as a child because he's a
yeah,
little prick as an adult.
he's not, no, he's not I mean,
Yeah.
he's not bad as an adult. He's okay, but he was a
Mhm.
jerk as a kid.
As someone who
um
didn't watch the first season, he was a jerk as an adult in the first episode. Okay, he's
he's
infantilizing
not that
left
bad.
and
They
right.
deserve
He's
they
a
deserve the
jerk.
criticism.
I don't care. He's a jerk. Okay, he's a jerk, and he was a jerk as a little kid. And then he met a tiny manic pixie dream girl who was a plot device. And it's like
Yeah.
everything that like people talk about that's wrong with movies right now, and they're right. Okay, they're right. Dude was a jerk, and he needed some girl to come and save his life. And oh no, she's a plot device. So much so that he can't tell which one it is. And even though obviously the audience can tell them apart as they have radically different hair, he can't tell them apart. And there's a whole scene where they put their hair up and he can't tell them apart. And it's like, oh
So
no. And I
to
can't
his
suspend my
defense,
disbelief that much. Okay, I
to his
can't.
defense, the different hairs for the characters was an anime choice, because in the manga they all have the exact same hair color, and so you literally can only tell because each character has as like their each character, their names means 1 through 5. Like Nino is 2, Miku is 3, Ichika is 1, right? And so that's how many bows or how many like ties in their hair that they have. And so you can only in the manga you only can tell who is which by counting the number of bows or something in their hair. And so in his defense, the manga is impossible to tell when they all have the same hairstyle. But for the anime, they were like, drawing the same character 5 times really isn't great. So they made drastic
Mm.
changes to the hair.
Well, they
But they
didn't
kept the
change
plot.
like the plot structure enough to make it make sense. Okay,
Yeah.
garbage. All right, garbage. Now the
I
rest of
liked
the
it
show
though.
could be great. The art is pretty. I mean, it's real pretty. Like, don't get me wrong. But I like the office lady one, Ichika or whatever. No, like the
Yeah.
one in the middle. Like,
Yeah.
she's my favorite. I like that she looks like an office lady. She seems on the up and up. I'm into her. I agree with you. We should throw out that angry one. I don't know why people are into it.
Yeah, so
Whatever.
Ishka is they're all the same age, but they all came like who came out first is like have the older sister personality. So Ichika is technically the oldest of them, and then Miku is the middle child. I am dead set Miku is best girl, but you wouldn't know it by just this episode because this episode was just
No,
her like
she's some
being
mousy
angry
little
at Ichika.
moe, piece of crap. All right,
You
I'm
gotta
not
watch
into
where
this.
she started. You gotta watch where she
This
started.
feels like I'm watching Clannad all over again, and I need to encourage a girl to come out of her shell. And oh man,
Oh my god,
I'm
you're
the
gonna call her
key. And
Nagisa? But but yeah, as long as we can agree, Nino's worst girl, we don't
oh,
have
we
to
can
fight.
agree that Nemo is first girl. I'm in for that, and I don't mind continuing the show. You've told me that he's not a garbage human, but you know what? He sure does feel like a garbage human so far.
Yeah.
All right.
I also want to add that if you haven't seen season one of this show, episode one does a decent job of showing you kind of little flashbacks of like their interactions. So although you will be missing out on a lot of like subtleties about how a character grew from season one, if you just wanted to watch this, see what it's about, you can jump in at season two without too much issue. I would recommend going back to season one though.
I didn't have a problem understanding this because I didn't watch season one. This is not
Yeah.
the kind of show that I usually watch, not even a little bit. I actually do watch some harem shows, but not this is not one of them. I love Mansu. I mean, like
Uh,
I'm all about Mansu. But
I
see,
mean, the red
that
haired girl
one,
on the left, she looks like the snake from Monster.
I mean, a little bit, maybe a little bit. I don't know. I this whole trying to encourage girls moe crap, I'm not into. So, and it feels like that.
Yeah.
It's not straight up like that, but it feels like that. And yeah. All right, the
Spider.
other surprise, I didn't think I was gonna like it show of the season.
Yeah, Spider is really good. I've been waiting for like I think it's been a year and a half now that I've been waiting for this to come out, and it's another show that got delayed and finally come out at the beginning of 2021. Another isekai though. There's no shortage of isekais.
There's really
Um,
not. This one is weird. This one's called So I'm a Spider, So What? Which is an even dumber level of isekai name than like I can't believe my little sister is this cute or something stupid like that.
yeah,
Or
the Japanese light novels are just getting absurd.
yeah. It's basically a girl who is like a student, and then all of a sudden she wakes up and has been reincarnated as a spider. And at this point, you don't really know how she dies, but a bunch of other people at the end of the episode who are also isekai'd from reincarnation possibly are her classmates.
Yeah, so it seems like
And
the whole
they all kind of
classroom
know each
got
other.
destroyed, it's hinting at it wasn't just like oh it was just a random accident. Like this show, the setup for the show is almost identical to that time I got reincarnated as a slime, which is also airing this season. It's almost identical, but like on the other hand, it's like the opposite side of the coin because in this show it seems like there might be like some underlying villain or something that blew up their classroom and
Yeah.
so you get to see her reincarnated as a spider while all her classmates got reincarnated as like magicians and high class politicians and all these other
Well, one
like
of them's like
things
a
you want to
monster,
be.
like a little. One of them came
But
in as a
even
pet.
yeah, but even so, even that like it's a cute pet and she's like a familiar I think almost. But
Hey, look
she
at that.
the
That
main character
spider is
specifically got
cute. All
reincarnated
right,
as a monster.
let's not disparage spiders because that spider is cute. All right.
It is, it is, it is.
It has
But I
some really
think
awkward kind of CG scenes in it, like at the beginning when there's like a bunch of spiders. But I feel like that's not going to be further into the show because it didn't seem like it was, you know. But yeah,
yeah.
like she wakes up and she's got like weird phrases. She's super awkward, and I kind of love that. Like she's like, "Oh Jesus" in English at one point, and I had to pause it and laugh a lot at that specific scene. Like, what? What are you
That was
even doing?
hilarious.
That's the
And so
English phrase that you learned?
the voice actor is Ao Yuki, and she's a great voice actor. She's also the voice of Madoka Froppy from My Hero, Tornado from One Punch Man, and Tanya from Tanya of Evil. So like she has a really good like cast or catalog or I don't know resume of shows, and so her performance is just so it's just so funny. She really sells it.
Oh, that's like
'Cause
the
how
guy
else
that
would you react in
plays.
that situation? Like, oh Jesus.
I know. That reminds me of the guy that plays Lelouch though. Every time I hear him in a show and he's like either playing that same type of character or mocking that same type of character that he played as Lelouch, like when he did the voice for it, it's delightful.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the spider show is really unexpectedly adorable. It does feel like a traditional isekai stuff. Like it's got like, oh, she can level her abilities, and she gets like kin eater ability because she has to like eat one of the other spiders to not die. And she's like,
Yeah, it seems like her
I
abilities are
guess I'm
just
gonna do
like the
this.
absolute worst abilities that you can have. It's just like there's like even if she gets like an appraisal skill and says, "Oh yes, I get to like figure out what's actually happening around here," and she touches it, and says, "This is a
Appraise
rock."
rock, and then it's like
Wait,
rock.
what?
Appraise rock, rock.
It's
It's
like
it, it's
absolutely useless.
And if we'd only gotten the spider parts of this show, I probably would have been like, okay, I don't know how they're going to carry that through the season. But then, like in the last, like I don't know, 7 minutes, not even. It was like
Yeah.
way 3/4 of the way through the show. You jump to like some like fancy banquet after she's starving. That's the best part too. You watch her
Yeah.
like starving. She has to like kill this frog thing and then try to eat it, and it's awful. And I mean, it almost murders her. It's very difficult. And then it goes to like a big fancy spread of
Yeah,
delicious
it's to show you that
food.
like she really got the short end of the stick. Like
It was great. And then like you meet all these people, and there's like some elf that looks like a girl, like a little girl. I don't like it when they do that because that's always going places I don't like. But they have this girl who's like an elf, and she like collected all the people that were isekai'd and helped train them to be magicians, and now they're in some fancy magician school. But some of them swapped genders, and one of them is like a monster familiar that's kind of cute. And then they kind of all are like, oh, I guess we can drop the pretense. Yeah, we're all from the same place, and all of this, and that's good. It made it more interesting. And at that
yeah.
point, it started to feel like villainous to me, like a more serious version of villainess. Because what's the full title of villainess, Eric? Because I don't ever remember. I just call it
I
villain.
think uh My Life has a Villainess. I think that's it.
Yeah. It was something like that. But Villainess was a
Oh yeah.
surprisingly number one wholesome show, and
It's
number
My
two
Next Life
good.
has a Villainess. All routes lead to doom.
Yeah. I would love a second season of Villainess, but I don't know where they're gonna go with it. But yeah, it
Yeah.
felt like Villainous at that point, because it's got that kind of weirdly surprisingly wholesome, like because she like eats the little thing and then she makes it to the end. I don't know, it's cute in the same way. Makes me feel like
Yeah.
it.
I'm interested to see how this show diverges from Slime because it's in Slime he kind of becomes like the hero of the world. While it seems like she's on the track of becoming the villain. So like I'm really interested in this one.
I would be accidental villain. I would be 110% here for. Okay, because I'm in. Count me in. This show is definitely high on my list of things that we watched early in the season. Do you know if this was a light novel or if this was a manga?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure this was a light novel. Let me check.
Feels like a light novel, but then again, I kind of assume most isekais are light novels.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it started off as a light novel.
Okay. Well, I hope it goes
2015.
somewhere good. I thought I was
Yasha
out,
Hime.
and then
But
you
they
pulled
keep
me
bringing
back.
me back in. I mean, so you said you dropped this one?
Okay, so I watched some of Inuyasha. Like it was like background on Toonami or something. That's the level of Inuyasha. Like I knew a little bit about it. I watched maybe half of last final season because that came out way later or whatever. I was okay with this. I was a little bit hyped about it. I knew a lot about the characters just because, everybody knows. Like, I love Rumiko Takahashi. I love Maison and Koku. I love Mermaid's Tear. I love a lot of Rumiko's stuff, actually. I'm not a huge fan of Inuyasha, but I was like, okay, all right. And then we get started. And then there's the implication that Sesshomaru's baby mama is the little girl he was traveling with, which I'm already uncomfortable. Like, sign me up for
Okay.
discomfort at day one, okay? Day one. But then I'm like, okay. So I get in there, and two twins. All right. I like the character designs; they look pretty. I like Moroha because I like that kind of feisty character.
So
And then it's
I
like,
like all the girls except for Setsuna.
that's fair. I'm not so much into Setsuna. 100% soon, all the time. Like, come on, man, ease up. You
Yeah,
gotta ease off.
like even towards
But
her like older like the sister dynamic is a little weird because Toa is the older sister, but Setsuna is like the more
but they're
have it
twins.
together sister.
But they're twins, so they're really the same age. Let's be real
Yeah,
here. Um,
but so
I
it's
don't know.
like
It started out and it was like, okay, Setsuna's got this big problem. We've got this ultimate 4 demon pillars that, we gotta look into. Oh, they want us to kill our dad. Oh, they want us to do this and kill this other dude on the mountaintop too. Okay, we're building toward an epic story. And they're like, nope, we don't want to do that. We're just gonna walk around and do bounties to help protect the village that they never get. How do they eat? Okay, because I'm now 14 episodes in, and they haven't actually successfully gotten a
they got like
bounty.
one or two. They did do like one or two, I think, bounties,
They keep
but they didn't
killing
get like the
everything
full
and
price.
destroying the body. And every time they destroy the body, the little angry raccoon dude is like, nope, too bad. You're not getting jack all because you destroyed the body, and I have no proof that you actually did it. Even though he sat there and witnessed it and probably got saved by them multiple times. 14 episodes of this over and over and over and over again. And now we
Yeah,
have
it was,
mystical
and it's
ghouls
also
in
weird that
our eyes.
episode one takes place after like episode 7 or something like that. Because like they show you the events of episode one, and then like okay, flashback like a week, and it takes them like 6 episodes to get back to that point.
Well, then they also have like the random episode of the Inuyasha team in the like in the very early part of it, for no, like, to give you some background on a monster maybe, and it's like,
Yeah, it does seem
I
like
don't know.
next episode is going to reveal like it's going to be like the great reveal where they're going to show you why Sesshomaru did what he did, and like Sesshomaru has a lot of like questions to answer. Like he has a lot of explaining to do. And so actually also Kagome, because like why is your daughter just wandering around like this? But
I don't know.
apparently next
Well,
episode is gonna
everybody
reveal
got to
everything.
remember, Sesshomaru wasn't like a good guy,
He
like
wasn't.
he
He took
wasn't.
care of Ren though. He did at least
Yeah,
that much.
that doesn't mean he wasn't. He was a good guy. Okay, like one good deed isn't going to make up for it. All right. I don't know. I feel like if you were a big fan of Inuyasha, you might even be disappointed in this. I wasn't a huge fan of Inuyasha. I just think it's kind of boring. They're not building toward anything. It's very monster of the
I mean,
weeky, and it doesn't feel like a lot of it's folding in on itself, except for that one dude who's like the prince or some crap, and he's got the
oh
earring
yeah.
that's one of the jewels. He feels like he's going somewhere, but like
So
everything else in the show is just like monster of the weeky.
but you say that, but that is the core of what Inuyasha was. Like, cause I remember watching Inuyasha
What?
as a kid, and it was like I missed like 10 episodes. Like, oh, I'm so far behind, and I watched the recap.
But you
Oh,
didn't
in the
matter.
last
Yeah.
episode, I'm like, oh, okay, got you. Nothing happened.
No, and
Sweet.
I get that, but you have to keep in mind, Inuyasha's what, in like 1998 or something, or maybe
That is
2001.
true.
We have different expectations for our narrative in anime now.
That
We
is
really do.
very true.
Take a cue from Sailor Moon Crystal. Sailor Moon Crystal came out, and they're like, we could do stuff compared to the anime, but they didn't. They did it compared to the manga, and it was a little too long. I'm going to be honest, even still. But they didn't. It was no monster of the week type crap. It was no wasted time in that respect. So, you know, I'm not
But
saying that it's not the same as it was. I'm saying that we live in like 20 years later, and it's a different expectation. So,
yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I'm still gonna watch this show. I'm gonna watch it to the end, I think. But I will say that it's not absolute. It's not a necessity. It's not necessary for you to watch it. Like I don't think even for fans of the show, I don't think it's like it's a must watch. But like I think fans can still enjoy it. And let me think. Can someone jump in it new? Yeah, you can jump in it new. If you haven't seen the original Inuyasha, you can still jump in it and enjoy it. But it really is just for the diehard fans, I think.
Yeah, I think it is too. I mean, the Easter eggs are what people are there for. You know, like, oh, I see the back of Sesshomaru. You can even see Inuyasha in this image facing away from the camera. And it's like,
Yeah.
all right. Yeah, in episode 14, the most recent one, you get a whole episode about, sort of, about Moroku. So that's like the
Yeah, and
most
it's
in
really
the past we've
sad though
had.
because like the English voice actor passed away for him like a month ago.
Yeah.
So he was just about to reprise the role, and so now I guess they'll have to get someone new.
Yeah, they'll definitely have to recast that. But even
Yeah.
then, I say it's an episode about Moroku, but it really wasn't an episode about Moroku because you really didn't get to see or learn very much at all about Moroku. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know like what's going on with him and his kid. I don't feel like they gave us any real information on his kid's real angry. And it's like, and his other family isn't. And he didn't actually do anything. He kind of ran away, but then he also kind of did good stuff. And it was ambiguous as to why people are so heated about this in this within world. I
Yeah,
thought
because
so.
he ran away, but it's not like he's not like Ash's dad, and like it's just never like you can't find this man. Like he's literally in the town
Listen,
next over.
sir,
Like you can
Ash's
visit.
dad, Ash's dad is Mr. Mime now. Okay.
Oh my god.
Ash's dad is Mr. Mime.
Oh
You
my
can call
god.
him dad. He'll be there for you. He's there for your mom. I'm just saying. Ash's
Oh
dad is
my
Mr.
god.
Mime. I calls him like I sees him. Yeah, no, I don't know. I found it really slow, and I don't feel like we're
So
going anywhere. I'll definitely. I mean, I'm gonna watch it for the show. You know, I'll watch it so we can talk about it. But
the new
I'm
opening
not.
has great AMV footage, by the way, though. I just want to throw that one out there. If you're an AMV editor, the new opening is like top tier footage.
That's good. I feel like the rest. I mean, it's a crisp show. It's very pretty.
Yeah.
It doesn't have too much stupid humor in it, which I was afraid of because it's like a remake, or well, not really. It's a sequel to an older show, and there was a lot more stupid humor in older shows. You know, that kind of era. But
Yeah.
if you want to watch, or if you want to see more Rumiko Takahashi stuff, which I highly recommend because I love Rumiko stuff, Rumiko either does one of two things: of short one-shot manga that ends really quickly, and then you really want more, but it doesn't exist, or way too long and it should have ended a long time ago, but it didn't, and you've got to chug through all of it. And that's the two sides of Rumiko Takahashi. So like Mermaid's Tear is really short and there's like only one OVA ever released of it, and then one manga or something. 1 Pound Gospel is the same way. And then Inuyasha goes on forever. Ranma goes on forever. And even my
Yeah.
favorite Rumiko, Maison Ikoku, still goes on forever. But definitely look up Maison Ikoku because it's really cute.
You gotta fluff up those Shonen Jump chapters. You gotta sell Shonen Jump magazines.
Hey, no, the new trend with Shonen Jump, a lot of the really hot shows that are a lot hot manga, I guess, that are coming out really soon have structured endings. Like My Hero's about to end. They said they're entering the
Yeah.
final arc, like the creator did. Demon Slayer ended. Promised Neverland ended, and they were structured. Although I think Promised Neverland milked it a little bit. Not Junji Kaisen. Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man
Oh.
ended their
Yeah,
first
yeah.
arc or whatever. And let me tell you, when the Chainsaw Man anime, which inevitably comes out, everybody watch it because Chainsaw Man is phenomenal and
I've
weird
only
as
been
hell.
hearing stuff about it. Like I've only been hearing everyone talk about how good it is, but I haven't actually checked out myself.
Phenomenal. Okay, I need to give you the scene of like the Chainsaw Man in full regalia, like riding a 3-eyed shark. Okay, like I love Chainsaw Man. I thought it was
That's a
really
sentence.
good.
That is a sentence.
It's gonna be my new profile picture at some point. Okay, so I'm gonna move from stupid raccoons to Chainsaw Man on a 3-eyed shark. But yeah, when that comes out, everybody watch it because it's gonna be freaking great. All
right. Next up, what's the name of this again?
When did I add this? Did I add this? Did you add this?
I
added this.
I added it.
I was gonna say, I thought we were just gonna talk about it. I didn't know we were gonna add it to the thing. Wonder Egg Priority.
Yeah, Wonder
This
Egg
is
Priority.
cool. This is Wonder Egg priority. All right. So I got to give a disclaimer. If you are interested in watching this show, I highly recommend it because it's really strange. It's incredibly pretty. This is a show I was talking about. The animation in it is gorgeous.
Yeah.
I watched all of what's the show with the girls that were in the band?
What?
Sound Euphonium. That's it.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
watched
yeah, yeah.
all of Sound Euphonium the first season because it was pretty. I did not care at all about the series. I watched it because it was pretty, and I feel like I would watch this one even if I didn't like the show just because of how pretty it is. But this a disclaimer for anybody watching the show. It deals with really rough bullying in the first episode. So if you have like a
Yeah.
big problem with that, you definitely want to skip the first episode because it's
Like it's
really really rough. Like
like it's talked about for the first. It's talked about for a lot, but it's only shown for a very short period of time. But the amount that the time they show you just hits really hard in that small amount of time, and it's like, okay,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, the whole concept of the show is rough. So I mean, that's my disclaimer warning because we will be talking a little bit about this. We're not going to talk about the details about the bullying stuff, but
yeah,
this was it. It almost feels like a stream of consciousness anime because you don't really know what's real and what's not real, and it just blends one into the other, and the scenes go right into each other. And sometimes the protagonist knows where she is, and sometimes she doesn't, and she's just kind of going. It is, it is what it
yeah.
is.
It's the premise feels a little bit like Black Rock Shooter, where in Black Rock Shooter, like the characters are like personifications of everyone's kind of like emotional stress. This one feels like the whole world is a personification of the person's stress level, and it's like, and these characters, these girls are very stressed. They have a lot of issues going on, and
To
so
give you a rundown, because the show is really strange and you should definitely watch it.
yeah,
She is a girl who faced a lot of bullying at school, and I think she doesn't go to school anymore. She has like private tutors because her mom like pulled her out or whatever. And she
yeah,
barely leaves the house, and she's a little bit of a shut in. But she has heterochromia, like when your eyes are different colors. That like dogs get that a lot, and it's super pretty. Like the animation is super duper duper pretty. Um, but she finds like a cicada or something and it dies, or it was a lightning bug or something, and it dies, and then she buries it and like prays over it, and then it's like, hey, thanks for doing that, let me show you this gachapon machine where you can get a toy that will change your whole life and fulfill the one wish that you have. And she's
yeah.
like,
And she's like, I don't got any money though, and he's like, oh no, don't worry, the first one's free.
first
That
one's
was
free,
that's your
but bring your wallet next time. Like the bug literally tells her this, bring your wallet next time.
you know
So he takes her down this like mystical Dragon Con escalator in the Peachtree Center Mall. That's really, really long. Okay. Yeah, somebody said it's a mix cross between Ikuhara and Naoko Yamada and a sprinkling of Magical Girl. It feels very Ikuhara. Like, it
yeah.
feels Ikuhara. It's
Like the
not
amount of
weird enough
information
to
they
be
give you in
full
episode
Ikuhara,
one
but
is about the same amount you got in Yuri Kuma, like which is nothing. You don't know what's going on. You're just in there.
yeah. But she gets like this little like egg. It's like a gachapon with like a printed number on it or something, and it looks like just like an egg. And then you find out that she's being bullied at school, and later you find out that her best friend, who like she finally made a friend, and then that friend jumped off the roof and killed herself. And then her friend is personified in a statue at one point that she sits on. That's like it looks like a gargoyle on the side of a building. It's weird.
Yeah,
But then she winds up getting angry, and she opens her eyes and she's out of school, but she doesn't know why she's there, and this whole thing, and she gets angry in the bathroom and she throws the egg, which cracks the egg because the bug tells her to crack the egg, and she can't do it. And then the egg opens up to be this other girl who says that she wants to be her friend because that was her wish, was to have a friend or whatever. And then these monsters that look like they're straight out of Witches from Madoka kind of attack, they're called
yeah. It
something,
wasn't
don't
a bug. It was
please
a
or
toilet paper.
something.
The toilet paper came to life and told her. Um.
Yeah.
So it seems that like it's a gotcha where when you get the egg, it's gonna have a random
Xeno
person
evil,
in it
yeah.
that's gonna have it's gonna have a random person in it that's gonna pop out of the egg, and that random person is going to bring with all their going to bring all their problems to your world, and it seems you have to save them, and that's really weird. But I guess that's what it is. I am
Well,
committed
then
to it. I'm gonna watch it,
Well, she picks up
but
this pen, which is the scene you're at right here, and then she like manifests it as a big weapon and kills the faceless, see no evil leader thing and rescues the girl before the bell rings. And then the girl's like, "Oh, thanks, but I'll never see you again," and then fades away. Like literally, that's kind of what the scene looks like. I'll never see you again, but thanks so much. And then she comes back and she asks the bug, like, "Is but she like the bug kind of tells her, and then she figures out that if she rescues more people, maybe she can bring her dead friend back, because her dead friend exists in weird purgatory. And then she's like, are all these people that I'm rescuing people that killed themselves? And the bug's like, no
no
commento,
comment.
no commento, no commento,
Like
no comment.
the bug. I don't trust the bug. He seems like very Cube-esque type guy.
Yeah,
I don't trust
bug
him.
is a little sus. Bug is a little sus. But yeah,
Yeah,
all of this it plays out very stream of consciousness. It jumps from scene to scene. It gives you no explanation. It doesn't really tell you, and you kind of have to figure out from context clues whether it's normal to her or whether you just jumped a scene and she's mystically somewhere new and you have no idea where it is. And at the very end, she goes back because she's like, "All right, I can do this. I'll rescue these people because I want to save my friend." And maybe there's a whole bunch of other people that committed suicide that exist as statues, and they talk about like how the statues are people and maybe they're statues in another reality. And but she comes back and to get more eggs, and she's like, "I brought my wallet this time," and it's like, okay, cool, this is weird.
yeah.
And she
I
goes
guess
and
that's
meets
your gig now.
famous doll dudes with the same name, and they're like, "Hang on a second, you gotta wait, somebody's already there." And there's some other chick who's there who's bought like 20 of the eggs, and they're like, "Yeah, she buys a lot, we're
Yeah,
really worried
she
she's
gonna
gonna
die.
die."
She gonna die. Because
So yeah, it's
these are not safe environments. They're not in and she it doesn't seem like she really has powers. It's like, okay, just jump in there, do something. All right.
yeah, it's really weird. So this was one was not originally on our list, but then I wound up watching it because the reviews were good. And so I told Eric, I was like, this is gonna need to go on our list. So we'll talk a little bit about the one that's probably coming off of our list in a bit. But yeah, no, I thought
Yeah.
this was really interesting, and I do understand a lot of people gave a content warning about the bullying stuff because it's really heavy, like at the beginning. There it does deal with suicide a lot. It does deal with heavy bullying leading to terrible things, like awful things. So but the art style is really pretty. Somebody mentioned character animation is almost KyoAni levels. Yes, absolutely. It's really really gorgeous. I hope it goes real weird, just like Ikuhara shows usually do.
I'm pretty sure, I mean,
Because
it's starting off weird. Like you can't. If this is how it starts, it definitely is going to get worse.
you say that, but sometimes things peter out or they get normal, and it's like I don't want normal, man. I want weird. I yeah, I want weird. I want penguin drum levels of weird. Okay.
You know.
All
All
right,
right.
World Trigger.
World
I didn't
Trigger.
watch the first season of World Trigger, but now I may have to go back and read the manga so I understand what's going on. I went back and wikied it after I watched this episode.
So World Trigger is kind of like a hidden gem show from like 7 years ago, and it's very long. Like season one was 74 episodes, and so I really enjoyed it. Has a lot of good characters in it. The world is very big. There's like I think there's a so, I think someone said there's over 100 named characters in the show,
Good
um,
lord.
and so like I really enjoyed it. It has a pretty good plot, but the thing is, after 7 years, having such a massive world and such a massive plot, coming back into it, it's like even I was like, wait a minute, is this really the case? When like they're describing like the situation of the good guys and like, oh yeah, there's 3 black trigger users on the good guys team. Like, wait a minute, that can't be true. They shouldn't be losing if they have this many trigger users. But turns out it was true. And so there's just so much information to remember in order to get into this that you absolutely cannot watch World Trigger the second season if you haven't seen the first. And even if you are a fan of the first one, you have to do some level of like like strolling through the first season to like refresh yourself because it's just too much plot to take in.
Yeah, I found it very difficult. Well, it wasn't difficult to follow because it was a pretty straightforward plot in the episode, but there were a billion characters in the first episode of season 2, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
The crazy
all
thing is
right.
the three main characters weren't even in the first episode. Like they showed like a side shot of them sitting at a table, and like all you said there's a billion characters. You haven't even seen the main. You don't even know who the main characters are yet. And
Yeah,
so
see, this is one of
there's
those things where I feel like if I'm gonna follow this, like I have the Shonen Jump app and World Trigger is on it, and I'm just gonna have to go like plow through 150 chapters or something of World Trigger just to figure out what the hell's going on.
it's a lot. It's a lot. Like if you want to drop this, I would say we're more than welcome to drop this because it's just not a show that you can just jump into. But I
Well, I
will
feel like
continue watching it.
if we drop it, I may swap. I may suggest we swap out because I've only watched half the first episode of Kimono Jihen, because that's another show that has good reviews and seems really interesting and might be good to pick up in its stead.
Yeah,
It's
no,
weird.
this is not by Trigger Studios. This is just the title of the show. But
Yeah. I know it's in Shonen Jump. I don't know who's producing it.
yeah,
Yeah. All right. Moving on from that. This is one of my
yeah,
editions because I heard it was really good and it was fascinating. This is
yeah,
Horimiya. It has a longer title with their names, and I forget it's like Hori something and Miyakawa or something. But people are gonna refer to it as Horimiya, so that's where we're at. This is a romance anime, and it broke some records on like the most watched romance anime at Premiere. That
yep.
like it was animation.
It says
This was on
it
Funimation.
was a my anime list. Funimation reported that the my anime list watchers reported the highest number of current watchers ever for a debut of a romantic comedy. Um, I didn't really consider this to be a romantic comedy. It feels like a romance with just comedy in it. And so that's one reason why I was saying, oh, this is like one of the first pure romances I watched in a long time, and I really enjoyed it. But if pure romance isn't your thing, it does have some comedic jokes in there that kind of make it more enjoyable. So I highly
Yeah,
recommend it.
I think I thought it flowed pretty well, and it wasn't. Sometimes romances can get bogged down and get a little heavy and almost morose depending on the subject, you know.
Yeah,
But I thought it flowed really well. The character designs were phenomenally good. It was very fun to watch, and I especially liked. So like the whole crux of it is there's these two characters are the primary. She's really trendy and at school, and then at home she's basically the primary caregiver of her like little brother who's like 4 or something, and so she
mm,
acts like a mom at home. She's very mommyish, and then he's like a nerd at school, and they all think he's like some weird recluse otaku that nobody knows anything about or whatever, and they think he's a nerd, but really he's got like several piercings and a bunch of tattoos and like wears his hair up in punk rock jackets and stuff when he's out of school, and but he has to hide it at school because they don't allow like the piercings. Like he leaves his hair down so they can't see. He's got like 8 piercings and things like that. And then they
yeah,
find out each other's secrets, so kind of, I don't know, it felt a little bit like Toradora in some ways to me, and the vibe of it actually felt a lot like Orange, if you've ever seen Orange. When I say it feels like Toradora a little bit, I mean in the premise, because it doesn't feel like Toradora in the other aspects. This feels like a different, I don't know, feel of show. I keep saying feel a lot, but yeah, it's got a different tone to it than that kind of
yeah.
thing.
It's
But
not so like in Toradora, Ruji and Taiga get together as kind of like a partnership that's not romantic. Like you knew from the start that it's going to turn romantic, but they got together for reasons other than trying to date each other. It was more so they were dating other
right,
people. And so this one is a little similar where they don't get together because they want to be in a romantic relationship. They initially get together just because he just happens to like help her little brother. And so, and then
Yeah,
they're
and
just
her
like, oh
little
yeah,
brother
I
likes
see your
him.
secret.
Her little brother's like, I want to hang out with this cool guy, and she's like,
Yeah.
oh,
So
well,
it's like,
and she's really upfront about it. She's like she enjoys spending time with him, and it's refreshing because they're not trying to really hide it from each other. Like
yeah,
she's very upfront. She's like, I like spending time with you. I like that you come here and spend time with my little brother. It's
yeah.
kind of cool. I don't know if it's going to be a crying show. It was a question. I'm not sure. I don't know
I
enough
don't think
about this
so.
property. It
It
feels
doesn't. It doesn't
more.
feel like a crying show. And
No,
maybe
it
there
feels
might be
more
one
like
episode, but
it feels more like there's going to be some shenanigan misunderstandings, but not a large amount because the tone of it is not as comedic. But like
yeah,
they both have reasons not to reveal their public selves in their main school environment. Like the guy, there's already like sort of a love triangle with this other guy who likes the girl and his is becoming friends with this guy. But
yeah.
I don't know. It
The
doesn't
character
feel.
dynamic doesn't feel cliche, but you know they're going to go
Yeah,
down some of the typical routes. But at least from the start, the way the character interact with each other doesn't feel like, oh, best friend is going to turn on her. And it feels like that they really are taking a different look at the genre. So I appreciate that.
I do too. I think it's pretty good and it is refreshing because it is different than what you'd expect in something like this.
Did you watch the
We
after
will.
credit scene for episode one?
Do what?
There was an after credit scene that was really funny for episode one. If you haven't, if you close the episode before that, you probably should just go back and watch it for like 10
Well,
seconds.
now I'm gonna have to because I definitely did not watch through the credits. So,
Yeah,
is somebody thinking this one will have a wacky love triangle parallelogram? I don't think it's gonna be that wacky, but I think it is gonna have that kind of thing. Like in the first episode, you've got their friend who's a dude who likes her, and then he accidentally sort of reveals himself to their other friend who's a girl who I think is gonna be like, oh, I like this guy, but not realize it's the same guy and be like, I
yeah,
found this mystery man that jumped over a fence in front of me, and I think he's really cute. I feel like that's where we're going with it. But
yeah,
very little about the show feels wacky. It feels more realistic than comedic. I don't know.
yeah.
But yeah.
Oh,
So I
this
was
was a surprise.
this was interesting. I was pretty hype about this show before I watched it, and I don't know how I feel about it yet. I
Okay,
like parts.
so
I don't like others.
this is Air Gear meets JoJo and Fast and Furious. That's what it is.
You just
It's the
say JoJo
character
because that
animation.
one guy, okay?
I
You
mean,
really just say
their
JoJo because
outfits
that
are
one
so
guy.
absurd. Their outfits are so absurd, right? So it's the outfits of JoJo. It's the plot of Fast and Furious, but it's Air Gear.
It is weird. It does feel like Fast and the Furious. So,
Like it's
somebody
literally
said it's
Fast and
free
Furious
bump
one.
skates. I don't know. I mean, it does feel like we're gonna get into some insinuated boys love here. That feels like a thing that is coming down the pipe for this show for sure.
Yeah,
I don't think it feels like Yuri on Ice. It does feel more like Free than Yuri on Ice. I want to say it might even be the same studio that did Free or somebody involved with it. But basic crux is dude on the left with the red hair is like a part of an underground skateboarding ring, and it really feels like you're watching like Fast and the Furious movies where you go down and there's people of all types down there that are cheering and hot chicks and dudes like trying to win to impress their girls. And I mean it very much feels like how Fast and the Furious. And then
or Fast
dude
and
on the
Furious started
right,
stealing tanks.
the freaking God, I lost it. The dude on the right with the white hair, that is definitely not the guy from Yuri on Ice, but even if he looks
Definitely
like
not.
him,
He's definitely
he
not Victor.
no, he's not Victor. And he shows up and he's like an exchange student, and he's from I think he's Canadian. Uh,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I
He's from Canada, but he was
he's
born in
Canada.
Japan, but he moved to Canada.
Yeah, because he
And his
speaks
mom's
perfect
Japanese,
Japanese,
but he
because
speaks
of course we
perfect
have
Japanese.
to for the narrative purpose, he needs to speak perfect Japanese. Never
Yeah,
touched a skateboard in his life, not even once. And and they like he wants a job though because he likes money, and I can relate to that. All right, like I'm in, dude. He's like, oh, does it pay well? Sign me up. And so he gets like a part-time job at the skate shop that this other dude is at, and they go to deliver a skateboard, but they pick up the wrong one that is like the most jank skateboard you have ever seen in your life. And they the guy is like, I'm not racing in the skateboard and I'm mad at you. And then they wind up getting in a street hustle with this other guy who's basically like a giant monster looking dude. And he's already cheated in a race earlier in the episode
He
and
calls himself
won.
the anti-hero. Like, no, bro, you're the villain. You're just the villain.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this wild
And
man tapes his feet to a skateboard.
he
the,
does.
the
He
guy
just
with the blue
tapes
hair.
himself to a skateboard.
He's like,
And then
I can't
physics
balance on this. I'm gonna tape my feet on it to stay on the board.
this is when you find out he used to be a snowboarder and he was like a world class snowboarder apparently in Canada. But this is when the very laws of physics break down because it's just a race. It's not like I need to do tricks and get points. It's just a race. So of course when he starts out, he has no way to kick himself forward, so he just starts moving his arms like this. I'll tell you a funny story about something about that at the end of this. But yeah, so he just starts moving his arms, and then all of a sudden he's miraculously caught up with this other. That's not how physics work, anime, okay? You can't just drag yourself along like you're scraping your butt like a dog and then pick up enough speed to catch up with this dude.
Yeah,
It
there was
doesn't
like at
matter
least
how
like a
good you
15
are.
second head start. Like,
That is not
if it's just
how
it's just
physics
well, I
work.
mean, well, the big guy, the villain, he was like just like messing around, and he wasn't going at full speed because he was like,
Yeah,
yeah,
even if
this
he
kid doesn't
wasn't
even know
going
how to
at full
tape.
speed, think of the physics of this, okay? Think of how fast you'd need to be going and how much momentum. Like it wasn't like somebody behind him gave him a really heavy push. He's sitting
Yeah,
there pushing with his arms, all right? It would take him some time to even get to a reasonable speed.
it would
And
have
it's
to be
like
the biggest slope in the entire world.
it would. And it was really, really frustrating to watch that whole scene. But then, of course, oh my god, I'm a magical skateboard guy that knows a lot of stuff. And clearly, this guy, he's a snowboarder. I can tell
Yeah,
from the way he stands on the board right here. And
snowboarding and
I don't know.
skateboarding is not one for one. You cannot turn on the side of a skateboard like that. That will not work.
Uh, it was
You will
very
die.
frustrating. I was pretty hyped about this show. And then I watched that episode and I'm like, this is really stupid. This is like some
Okay,
real stupid
it is.
concepts.
It is, but not really that much. The physics isn't really that much dumber than any other anime. Like, let's be real. Like, they really really pull that many shenanigans besides from that one.
I don't
The
know.
animation is
It kind
great.
of it was a bit much,
Uh,
but I'm gonna keep going with it. The animation is great. You're right. This show has had a lot of hype, and I feel like a lot of the, especially the character design hype and the animation hype, has been very well deserved. Um, so I look forward to where it's going. I look forward to meeting like the bajillion other characters that are in it in the opening, because there's like a ton of people
yeah, with crazy outfits.
with
Like
crazy
their jackets.
outfits. Is
I'm
that
just
why you
looking at
think
their
it's like
like the
JoJo? It's
jackets are
just like
like,
crazy
why
outfits?
would you? Why is your jacket? Why does your jacket have a jacket inside it? Like it's so weird. It's ridiculous.
It's like a Square Enix production.
Yes,
Need
it's like
some more
that.
belts and
There's no
zippers or
point.
something. I will definitely be picking it up. This is high on my list, even with my physics problem. If it turns out to be a
This
lot
show is
like
on
the
Funimation.
ridiculousness, uh,
Yeah, not on
is this not
Crunchyroll.
on Crunchyroll? This was, yeah, I think this was a Funimation one. Honestly, a lot of the stuff we're watching is on Funimation. I was surprised
Yeah,
because, like, last season, I think there was one thing I was watching on Funimation, Decadence. I watched Decadence on Funimation.
yeah.
But
Funimation and Crunchyroll kind of split some of the biggest titles. So like the biggest shows are like on both, but then they both have their own kind of like exclusives. Like Heaven's Design Team was a Crunchyroll exclusive, while this one was Funimation. Um,
yeah.
so
And if you have Verve, I mean, it pulls in High Dive and it pulls in Crunchyroll, so I mean, it's useful.
yeah,
Although I don't think High Dive has any simultaneous releases. I think they just do distribution for things that Crunchyroll is releasing. Like they'll buy the distribution rights, and Crunchyroll will have the streaming rights for the same
yeah.
title.
High Dive also has some dubs for stuff like you can watch the dub for Made in Abyss on High Dive, so they're really
Yeah.
useful for that. So I
Hey,
always
did you watch
recommend like
the
paying an
movie?
extra like $2 for Verve over Crunchyroll.
Did you watch the movie?
I did,
The
I
new one?
did. I was like really sad at the fate of one particular character. Like, dang, it's rough
Hey,
out
well,
there.
you were really sad it made an abyss. I've never heard someone be really
Yep.
sad it made an abyss. No, not at
Uh,
all. All right, I got a lot to say about this one.
Titan, Titan.
Uh,
It's
Titan.
been a
So this
long
was a
ride, and it's almost over, but it's been a
yeah.
long ride.
I I I remember when Titan season 1 came out. I went to Anime Expo when episode 13 was coming out, and they had like a preview, all in Japanese, see it before episode. I don't think that I have ever been in a convention room with more palpable hype than that room. I mean, this is like a room that seats like 3,000 people. This was like their secondary main events room or something. And all along every wall are the
Every
gear,
wall.
the people's gear from the costumes, because they can't sit in the seats with like the flying gear, so they all put it along the wall, so every wall was just covered in the gear and from the cosplayers, and it was insane. George Wada was there, who was, I think he was director at the time, and they had an unreleased episode. This was like the peak of first season hype for Attack on Titan, and it was an incredible experience. And because of that, I wound up picking up the show right after that, because I had no contacts. We just went in it to meet with a business contact or something like that. But I picked up the show and I watched the whole first season, and I thought the second half of it lagged a little, but I really liked it. And then they waited so long to do season
Yep.
2. Like, everybody wanted it, and they waited very long. And by the time season 2 came out, a lot of the hype had really died down a whole bunch. I watched maybe 6 episodes of season 2, and I didn't care anymore. It was a lot of the same. It wasn't getting me a lot in storyline, and I just didn't care anymore. So I gave it up. Now, when Erik was setting this up, he was like, okay, we're Attack on Titan's on here. And I'm like, all right. So he and I both went and watched the same recap guy on YouTube to watch a full recap of season 2, and then a recap of season 3 part 1, and a recap of season 3 part 2. And it was very useful because I had watched the first half of the first episode of season 4, and I'm like, oh my god, I have no idea who these characters
This is
are,
not
and
the
I have
world I
no
remember.
idea what's going on.
Yeah, like
Um,
if you're just jumping in straight clean into the final season of Attack on Titan and you haven't been watching since season 1 or season 2, you'd be like, wait a minute, is this the same anime? Is this like, who are these people?
it was
Where's the
really
anime?
weird. But
But
so we went back. Both of us went back and watched recaps, even though he's seen more of it than I have.
yeah,
But
I have
yeah,
seen
no.
all of
So
it, but there's
to
a lot
answer
of
the
details
question,
that like builds on top of each other that you need to like remember in order to like take everything in.
the question in the thing about did they ever find out was in the basement? Yes, and the second part of season 3, they go into the basement and they find out what's there. Okay, so big warning. We're going to give you a whole lot of spoilers for season 3 and some for season 4. So just FYI, that's coming. Okay,
Yeah.
that being said, you find out in the
So
basement that all of these people that you've seen the entire show, like 3 seasons, live on an island with these walls and the Titans outside of them. And there's a whole world across the ocean that they have no concept about, or at least a lot of them don't, because it's been like 100 years or something since they moved there. It's been a long time, enough of a long time. Yeah, in the basement, you find a picture of Aaron's dad and his first wife and his first son when he lived on the mainland. And he actually came to the island. And yeah. So it's, yeah. That's what you find out. And then at the end of season 3, part 2, they wound up going to the beach, and they're like, they feel the ocean for the first time because they like actually venture out and, but they still haven't gone to the mainland. So that's, there's a whole other set of people in the mainland that are basically like maybe like the 1900s kind of era technology level people, and they're
Yeah,
fighting a
they have
lot. There's a bunch of
blimps, they
different,
have
like,
planes, they have like advanced weaponry. Like,
yeah, they have some a tank. It's an armored train in the first episode,
yeah,
like with guns,
yeah. So it's like
artillery.
they are they are not in the boonies like like how the main characters are. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
So you start off in
so when they go,
four.
oh, you continue.
No, 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 no. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So yeah, when they go over to the, so now that we're in season 4, it starts off in the other world, like the world that we haven't really seen, only in like a few flashbacks till now. It starts off there, and so you have no idea what year it is. You don't know like how long like these characters have been there, but they're like, oh yeah, and they kind of just only mention the world that we know, the area within the walls, like offhand. And so after 4 episodes, we finally figure out that it's actually been a time skip. And so now we realize that it's been 4 years since season 3 ended, and we get to see what's been happening over the past 4 years. And
Well,
it
you
was
I
a
mean, you say
big
that
reveal.
you get to see what's been happening, sort of, and you get a lot of background on like the Marley people and the Eldian people and all of this. And somebody asked in the chat, why do they not use that tech to kill the Titans? Fun fact: in the first episode of season 4 is basically the turning point where they realize that the tech has now caught up with the fact that they can kill Titans. Like that's kind of a plot point.
Yeah.
Where they've got these guns that will kill a Titan basically in one shot if they hit it in the right place, and they have like a really rough battle where it's like a another race of people and another country of people that are from the mainland are attacking the Marlians, and the Marlians like defeat them. And the Marlians, because, oh, let me tell you how wonderful people they are just throwing their subclass Eldian people that they don't respect in front of the cannons as cannon fodder. So there's a lot going on here politically, and it is definitely has real strong allegory to Germany in World War II. And that, in my opinion, is a little problematic. Because you've got a whole, like, Marlians are the people that are the head of the society now, that run the society, but you still have what they consider a subclass called Eldians, who are the people that originally had the Titans and had the Titan stuff and made a deal with the devil of all Earth to get the Titan technology. But the Eldians did some terrible stuff to conquer people in the past, and now the Marlians were mad, but then they definitely overcompensated and basically have the equivalent of ghettos for Eldians that still exist, and they try to indoctrinate them. And I'm going to be honest, if you try to make the allegory to Germany in World War II, it actually becomes really problematic, because the Eldians are not analogous to like German Jews. They're definitely not. They were it. I'm not going to touch that too much because but it's very problematic if you follow through
Yeah.
with that line of thinking, and it's yeah. But it's interesting. That you find out that they control 7 of the 9 Titan types, or they did several years ago. And if you get a Titan, like one of the main 9 Titan types inside you, you only live for 13 years after you get it. And so
Yeah.
they're on a timer. And they wound up sending 4 of their people to the island. They call the island like Paradise or Paradise or something.
Mhm.
And they sent 4 of the people there to infiltrate and try to, figure out what's going on and all that. And it was like, it was Reiner and Berthold and Annie. And this guy named, started with
I
an
forgot
M.
his name,
Not
but he got
Marcus, but
eaten by
it's
Ymir.
eaten like immediately when they got there. He got eaten by Ymir, because when Ymir was like a crazy Titan, because you found out at some point, like maybe in season 3, that they pass powers by eating each other. So, like at the end of season 3, Armin was dying, and they turned Armin into a Titan, and then Armin ate Berthold. So now Armin has colossal Titan powers because he ate Berthold.
There's just so much
So
plot. Like there's just like
there's
we're
a
just
lot of
regurgitating all these
you have
details. It's like
really
we're not even like scratching the surface yet.
But the whole first 4 episodes are basically Reiner's story, and it's kind of interesting because he's the only one that comes back, like from the mainland. And he was one of these Eldian people that his whole family like lives in this ghetto area, and they're trying to become real citizens of Marley. And he's trying to save the 4 kids that are taking over for like the people, like the Titans. They will be the next like heirs to the Titans or whatever, and they're gonna have to eat the other ones or whatever and become them. But they're gonna only live for 13 years, and he has this whole sit down dinner with his family where they are all talking like mad crap about the Eldian people that are over on this island. And he's like, yeah, they did all these normal human things, and I certainly became endeared to them, but yeah, they're terrible people. And it's clear he's having like this is a warning for anybody watching it. He tries to kill himself at one point, but then he decides he tries to eat his gun, and he decides not to because he's got horrible feelings, and he's only got 1 year left to live. Like, this is established, right? So he's only got like 1 year left to live. And the little kids that are trying to train up to do this, one of them wants to save the girl that he likes, even though she's like the most badass of all of them, and she's definitely going to get one of the Titans. He's trying to outdo her, so he'll take the Titan, so she'll live a long life, and he's trying to save her life, you know?
Yeah, and
And
this is rivalry
really
that forms, and it's like, bruh, everyone's
yeah,
like, wait, she's like, why are you doing this? And everyone's like, it's so obvious, but she just is clueless and doesn't know.
yeah, she's very indoctrinated too, which is, it's like really super duper scary because she's like, those filthy Eldians, I'm sorry I have their blood. I want to be a full Marleyan. I'll give my life for Marley and all this. And
Yeah.
it's some real creepy level cult kind of stuff. But so like that's the first 4 episodes is like Reiner like trying to come to terms with this, that he's only got a year to live, that he's trying to save these kids, that he abandoned all these friends that he made, and he betrayed them. And you find out through like the course of flashbacks that when he and Berthold did the original attack that killed Aaron's mother, that let all the Titans in, it was only to try to sneak into the town and become part of the town. And it really had like such a bullshit reason. All of this tragedy happened and was started off because they needed an excuse to get into the town to try to infiltrate. And it's so weird. I mean, like, just coming full circle on this and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So at the end of episode 4, well, actually at the end of episode 3, and then all of episode 4, you've got this guy who's like a wounded soldier who's Eldian. He came back, he had PTSD, he's in a hospital, he makes friends with the little kid who's trying to save the girl he likes, and he's like, take these letters for me. I can't mail them from here. I've got to mail them to my family. And then, of course, you're suspect at that point of this guy. He meets Aaron's grandfather, who's crazy and in the mental institution and has lost his mind entirely, which is a really fascinating scene, because then you find out this guy is Aaron. This guy is Aaron 4 years later with long hair. And he has this whole long thing. There's a whole... The Eldians also control the Titans, which is why they have to control the Eldians to get the Titans. There's one guy who's an Eldian, and his whole family's super duper rich. And they need his help to, like, you know, do some stuff or what politically. And he decides to have a play where he gets all of like the hoity-toity everybody, like, you know, in Marley to come to like the slums where the Eldians live, right? And he puts on this play, and he's like, here's what you've been told. All of it's a lie. The king of the Eldians was actually trying to save us all and have world peace, and I was complicit. And he said, but now we've got a common enemy that is coming from here, and it's going to destroy us all. And it's Aaron. It's absolutely Aaron. Aaron has the ability to control other Titans and tell them what to do. And now he has like the super ability. And you don't know that underneath the building where they're talking, Aaron is talking to Reiner, and he's got the little kid right there. And the kid's freaked out because Reiner's like just like crying and falling on his knees and all this, and you don't know who it is until the end, and then he reveals himself as Aaron, and then Reiner's like, oh, I don't know, and he's like, don't worry, I'm going to do exactly what you would do in my position. I'm going to wreck shit. And then he just like explodes into Titan form, and he just explodes up out of this right as this play is going on, and
yeah,
oh my God.
It was a great build up to that. It was a great build up. Yeah.
Absolutely crazy scene. He just explodes out of everything. And there's like so much it's just a reversal of fortunes, because it was basically what Reiner was doing on the other side, you know, and Oh man,
Yeah,
it was a
it's just
really good.
so much has led up to this because even the detailed explanation Justice gave, like there's so many details that are necessary to fill in like the political like structure that led up to this, and it's like
Yep,
you really
I will say
like I highly
it.
recommend if you don't want to
I don't think.
plow through all the season 2 and 3, watch just Google Attack on Titan recap, and you'll find like the same
Yep.
hour video that we found,
There's like a
and it does a
British
great
dude that
job of
does
laying
like a
everything
video,
out.
and it's really useful. And I
Yeah,
just watched that because I had only seen half of season 2, and I feel like I caught pretty much
yeah.
everything I needed to catch. So, but yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised. I'd given up on this show. I was not going to come back and finish this show. I was just going to maybe read a recap at the end to figure out what the hell was going on or whatever. No, I'm sold. I'm sold for this show every week. I'm done. I really want to watch next week because Aaron's going to be fighting the guy who's the rich guy, and his Titan form or his family's Titan form or whatever is a Titan we've never seen before. So that'll be like new.
So I just find it funny
Also,
that
I
Jess is
want
like,
them
make
to
sure we
tell on
don't
together
curse too much on
all
stream.
Earth.
But during the Titan segment, Jess, you've cursed 3 times.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, man. I got
Jess
excited.
is
All
really
right.
into Titan right now. She's really into Titan.
I am. I did not expect this to be like my number one show of the season, but this is like my number one show of the season. So, but yeah, no. I'm very, 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 very hype about it. And I hope all of you guys are pretty hype about it too. So,
Yeah,
I
that
want
was
to.
our full sale recommendation that Titan is the show to watch of the season.
Yeah, even this promo image is the time skip image. Like, this is everybody being older in the promo image that's on right now.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about it. I don't know. All right.
All right. We spent a
All
little
right.
bit
The
too much
show we're
time on
giving up.
that one. The show we're
We
giving
did.
up. Yes. Oh man, so the reason why I added this show to the list is because there is a mini show called Alice in Deadly School that exists within this world as a movie. So it's a movie within a show. And so the trailer for Alice in Deadly School shows like this zombie world, and these two girls are like trying to fight zombies, and the animation looks really good. And so everyone is really got hyped for it. But turns out Alice in Deadly School doesn't premiere till March, and this show was meant to be like the kind of like the thing to get you hyped for it. Well, I'm not sure. It's probably the other way around, but this is the main show, and the main show is nothing about that. Like Alice in Deadly School is just a movie. And this show is about like something happens, you don't know what happened, but like the world ends or the town gets destroyed, and then years after that they have these kind of like virtual reality idol simulation devices where these girls can like use this machinery to like have these like 3D productions for the idol shows. And pretty much it's all standard, just your standard idol show, nothing really like out of the ordinary, except there's kind of like this hanging like backdrop of something's weird about this town. Their technology is a little bit too advanced, a little bit, and there's something really weird in the center of town. But
Well,
after
there's some
two
other stuff
episodes,
that's
it's
weird about
like
it too. Like the main character feels like almost like she has multiple personality problems,
yeah,
and then you've got like the person in the back of this picture is not an actual human. It's like a doll that they use to act with, but it seems
yeah.
really human. I feel like that's coming around at some point too. Yeah.
So it's like the show feels like it's trying to set up some kind of like Madoka reveal or School Live reveal where it's like, oh, it turns out the world they're living in is like even darker than what we realize. But it's weird because there's no like at least with Madoka, like there's fighting. At least with School Live, it's like they're fighting zombies. With this, it's
It
like
happens fast
the other
too.
half of
In
the
School
coin
Live,
is they're just
so good.
idols. And
Yeah.
so it's like it's not really interesting because at the end of the day, it's just your standard idol show. There's nothing really else going on, and then you kind of get occasionally get reminded that there's something else in the background. But I don't feel like the eventual plot reveal is going to be like it's not going to be episode 3 of Monaco. I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even in School Live, it was episode 1. It's the end of episode 1, and you figure out something weird's going on. You're right. I think
Yeah,
this is too slow of a burn. And sometimes I like weird, slow burn reveals, like DeCapo. I watched like 12, 13 episodes of Da Capo before it started getting weird, and it was just kind of a fluffy harem show. And then all of a sudden, people started dying when people make wishes on the sakura tree, and it's like, what? Where did this
I
come
did not
from? And
know
then
that
now
was
I
the
love
case of that. I haven't seen the show. I only seen a little bit, like images. I did not know it
Oh,
was
it
a
takes
weird
it like a
show.
long it's like episode 13 or 15 or something before you get into the weird stuff. And I was on this was in that season where I was watching everything and like because I was really bored and I worked at a bowling alley and I was very, very bored all the time. So I watched every show that came out. And that's the only reason I even followed DeCapo. But I love DeCapo now because it got real weird at the end.
Yeah, this
This
show is
show is
called
called
like
Geki
Geki
Doll.
Idol
Yeah,
or Geki Doll. Um,
Geki Doll, but Alice in Deadly School is the one that Eric actually wanted to watch, which
yeah,
apparently is coming out in March, or
yeah.
the
So
movie
we
or
might
whatever.
revisit and watch the OVA because it's just one OVA. So we might watch that and then bring this back later. But starting out, we like more. We even gave the show 2 episodes, which is more than we watched the other shows because they only 1 episode and out. 2 episodes in, it just doesn't feel like it's going to be worth it.
Episode 2 was also really weird. They had to raise money by doing like a live in Akiba of because they were like almost out of money, so they kind of masquerade. Even though they're a theater troupe, they were masquerading as a idol group at that point because they're not really like a singing idol group. They're like an idol theater group.
Yeah,
Um,
it's weird.
but they masqueraded as like a singing idol group, and they had like cute little outfits, and they did a little song. But in the middle of it, the power goes out because they still have power outages because of whatever this cataclysmic thing is. And then
Also,
they
they
start
don't have
doing
money.
their yeah.
Their
They
power really
start
got
doing
shut off earlier in the episode.
their monologue from their play in the middle of the power outage that's supposed to it's supposed to be the turnaround moment where everybody really loves them now, and it was really super awkward because you have to think the audience is like, what's going on, because it's a bunch of
Yeah,
like
like
sweaty otaku looking
so
for an idol group.
they keep going back to this play about the world, like some character being on like the world, the Earth, and I guess she's from a different planet. I don't know, but there's this line where they go around and explain, oh, the Earth has this much water or something, or like they explain all the details
Yeah,
of planet Earth, and it's supposed to be this endearing, like, oh my God, this is such a like like monumental line from this famous play or whatever, and it's like, no, it's not even interesting. Why are you hyping up this line to be like some like revelation? And it's like, no, it's not even interesting. But the crowd is like, oh my God, she's such a good actor, and it's weird.
I know. It's really weird. It doesn't feel natural at all in that scene. And then they come back, and all of a sudden the crowd loves them now because they're singing their little idol song, and now everybody's cheering. And yeah, and I mean, it's got some
Yeah,
undertones of interesting stuff, but it's just so few and far between. Like, they get out of this idol show, and some guy's like, oh, I recognize you as this idol. I did a bunch of in person hand touch things because that's like a weird idol thing, too. And then she runs away and she's like, I'm not that person. Screw you. And, runs
yeah. She
away.
was the
And
girl that
I
like
wonder
was like
if
insisting that they're
actually
not
saw it.
idols. She was like, yeah, we're not doing this because we're not going to be like music idols. And turns out she's one from the past, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. And she's really angry when the other girl's like, I really like this character who's an idol. I want to be just like her. Well, maybe you should have joined her troop. Yeah. Angry, angry. And I don't know.
yeah,
It's pretty boring. I really need this whole post apocalypse thing to like take place, or else this show is just going to be terrible. So I don't know.
yeah. I'm on board for dropping it. I have no interest in watching episode 3, but
I don't really either. I'm okay dropping this, and I'm okay dropping World Trigger. And I'm a okay picking up Wonder Egg Priority with the
yeah,
weirdest title. All right,
okay.
slime.
That time I got reincarnated as a slime. In my
I
opinion,
was
this is the best isekai. Or at least up until I saw Spider, I would say this is the best isekai that I've ever seen. Spider, if Spider holds up, it could take it, but right now I think this is the highest quality isekai out there.
I appreciated that they gave me a recap episode for season 2 because I've never seen it before. So it gave me it was a good recap episode. It was very thorough and it tells you everything you needed to know.
Yeah, it was a good recap. It kind of like it kind of glosses over how much effort each thing took. Like it says, "Oh yeah, I became the leader of the goblins, and then I became the leader of the dire wolves, and then I brought peace to like to like the human side." And it's like it just seems like so matter of factly, but the actual episodes were really really good. So even though the recap is really good, I would say if you're interested to go back and watch season one when you have time. Um, but if you just want to just watch something new right now, you can jump into it if you watch the recap. Um, so I recommend this for both old and new fans. And if you have no knowledge of the show, Slime is pretty much kind of like the opposite of Spider, whereas you have this teenage Japanese girl that gets transported into a world by herself or with her friends. Slime is this middle-aged Japanese man that gets transferred into the isekai world by himself, and he's a slime that has absolutely no abilities, and so he kind of has to get these like ability. He has to pick up abilities on the way, and so he picks up appraisal skill that like tells him like all the information he needs about the world, and then he picks up like the ability to see because first he didn't have eyeballs, and then he like kills a spider, and so then he picks up the ability to, like shoot webs, and so he picks up all these small abilities that in total ends up making him really really strong when he finally gets out of the cave, and he even makes like a pact with this dragon called Veldora, and so
Well,
over the
I'm gonna
course.
need you to dial that back a little bit, and I'm gonna go with you cannot call him middle aged because he's 37 and I'm 37, and you're gonna need to just
Okay.
roll that right back right now.
Okay,
Let's go
okay,
with
okay.
adult, adult aged, okay?
Adult
Roll
age
that
Japanese
right
male. And so, and so, over the course of season one, you get to see him um, use the fact that he's a slime to like befriend other people that would normally be like weary of a monster this powerful because he's really strong. And then he makes all these alliances with these other nations, and he like brings peace to this entire side of the world. And he effectively becomes like the ruler of like the entire like monster population because he's the only person that's competent and knows how to like actually make deals. And so season two jumps in right after the end of the OVAs in season one. And this episode by itself is there's not really a lot to talk about. Episode one is just kind of more of the same type of things that were going on in Slime, where he's just constantly making like diplomatic like agreements with other nations. But overall, I think the show is really good, really funny, just like Spider. Um, so there's
I
gonna be lots
liked
of
it.
comparisons between the two.
I like most of it, I should say. I'm not so much about really very underage looking girls with almost no pants on. Could have done
Yeah,
without that.
she's an issue. Um, she is an issue.
Yeah.
That is her
But
quote unquote battle gear. So she's not like, I mean she's like that whenever she's like shows up for a fight, but they do like put her in regular clothes a lot of times. So it's not, and she's also
it
not
makes
like
a bit
part of the
less
main
sense.
set of characters.
I feel like it makes less sense that that's her battle gear because like it doesn't cover
Yeah,
any part of her body. I
yeah,
guess her arms are okay. That's about it. Like you're gonna lose a
yeah.
leg and most of your torso, and
Well, she's literally the strongest person in their entire crew. Like she's like at least twice as strong as the main character. So like
well,
she's
then
only
she
shows up
shouldn't.
when she shows up, it means that the enemy is especially like tough to deal with. So she's not around that
Mm.
often.
I like the slime
Right.
show. I might go back and pick up the first season, so I'm more caught up. But the recap episode was very useful, quite
Hmm.
useful.
Yeah.
I can't believe you made me go back and watch Log Horizon. Do you know how bored I
Okay,
am
so
with
when
Log
Log
Horizon?
Horizon came out, it was the best of it. Like when Log Horizon came out, it was kind of like peak isekai. But now I feel like the bar is a little bit higher. Um,
This is
I
exactly what I
still
was saying
enjoy
about
it.
Inuyasha. When Inuyasha came out, it was okay to have Monsters of the Week because that was a thing in like the late 90s and early 2000s to have Monsters of the Week. But now we
Yeah,
expect more from our anime and our narrative.
yeah. Now we expect more from each individual episode. Like overall, when you take in the plot of Log Horizon, it's really good. But every single episode is just so much like, oh, there's so much political maneuvering and scheming going on in the background, and here's how all these chess pieces relate to each other. And it's like it's good world building. Like the Log Horizon world is pretty good, but by the same time, it's like it gets dragged down by its own plot, unfortunately.
I mean, you
And
say
there's
that.
just so
I
much
was
stuff
kind
going
of
on.
in the politics and the trying to sway the council part of this episode. I'm obviously not as in tune to this because I didn't watch. I watched like half of the first season and I thought it was boring as hell. But I'm not as in tune with it because I didn't watch a lot of the show. But I was actually kind of interested in how the political dynamics were working because I like political shows like that have that kind of thing. And then we got to a scene that like was just the anti-Bechdel test at like in every way, shape, or form. Where the two female characters in this shot were talking about how much they like, but really secretly don't like their like their knights or
Male
whatever.
counterparts, whatever. Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, this was a lot more interesting when it was more of a, overarching political intrigue type thing. Then I was a
So
lot
I mean,
less
that's
interested.
part of it because the end of season 2, a character named Krusty, he gets transported over to the Chinese server. And so right now the whole big issue is that they need to get in contact not with the Chinese server, not only to get Krusty back because he's a big player in terms of like the politics and their actual like strength as a nation. Now they need to get in contact with him not only for that, but because of the leader on that side, she's like the former like guild member with the main character. And so there's just so many reasons they need to get in contact with China as soon as possible. And they just can't. And so him not being there means the princess no longer has her knight. She no longer has her love interest that she most certainly would have like married if he was still there. Um, and so because of that, there's so much fallout. The council's falling apart. She's gonna have to marry some other guy. And so the whole romance thing is a part of it. It's just not an interesting part. And it's unfortunate that
Yeah,
that's how the season starts off. Because I imagine it happens right after like it immediately happens the event in the manga as well. But it's not a great place in order to like bring a fan back into the show after being like not on air for I don't think like 3 4 years. I still have hope for the show, but it's not at a great point right now. But I think it is trying to like build up to something better.
yeah, yeah. Well, that was kind of the only thing because it was such a hackneyed scene. Like it was interesting to me to that point, and then it was such like a hackneyed scene, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
all right, I guess. But hey, why is his name Krusty? Because I need to know if that was supposed to be like some kind of joke because it sounds really dumb and I like
I
it.
don't know. I don't know. They all have their like um avatar name, so that's not his real name. So I don't know.
I just like, is he named after Krusty the Clown? I really want to know these things because he's just got like
No,
the stupidest
he's the
name compared to the
opposite.
rest of
He's the opposite of like he's this really good gentleman guy that's also really big and bulky and like he's a good guy, but I don't know why they named him Krusty.
Yeah, it's weird. Oh, there's a special gift from the office for you. I'm just
What?
saying. It's for you. It's a
Oh my
sticker.
goodness. Oh, what? Oh my God.
Mom made
One of
it for
these days
you.
I'm gonna have to pick it up when we're not still locked up.
All right, all
Uh,
right. Lower Horizon. Now,
oh,
the
Promise
punk
Neverland.
second most hype show coming out this. I don't know if is this more hype than Titan, or is Titan more hype than this? I don't know.
It is Titan because Titan is pure action and it's been so many years. So I think Titan is definitely the biggest hype factor of the season. But Neverland, ah man, that's definitely my preference over the two.
If you have not seen
Um,
season one of Neverland, you just I don't care
yeah,
that you even close the window. Go watch it right now. Like it's
yeah,
so good.
Neverland season 1 was so good. I love the characters. Um, I I, I hated Ray season 1. I hated him most of season 1, but now Ray is finally like respectable. Before every move Ray made, I was like, Ray, you need to fall in line, like right now. But now he's good. He's good too. I love Emma.
I love Emma. Emma's my favorite for sure. But
Yeah.
this is season two. We, if you watch season one of Neverland, they are humans set sometime in the indeterminate future in a in a farm where they're being raised and culled at I think it's like 12, 11 or 12 or something to
Yeah.
be food for these giant monster creatures. And they have no idea what exists outside of the walls of this farm, and they have this elaborate plan where they escape the farm. One of the humans that is their mama, is actually working for the monster creatures, and they find this out, and there's like this elaborate thing, and like over half of the children escape, but they leave the really young ones behind because they can't take them. So they've
Yeah.
just made it over the wall, and that's where we are. And they're being chased by the random crap that exists in the world. And they have like some hints from this guy named William Minerva that he left a bunch of books in the library at the school or at the farm. And yeah, I'm trying really hard not to give you spoilers because I've read the entire manga, so I know
Yeah.
exactly
It's
how
impossible to talk about season
exactly
two
everything.
without spoiling season one because they escape,
Oh yeah,
right?
no,
So
no,
like
you're gonna have to. I mean,
so
you can't even. This is a show you absolutely cannot start in season two because you really don't have a lot of context about what's going on. They start out in season two running from a bunch of creatures. They're being hunted by the monster people because they got out, and they meet these two people in a cave, kind of in the woods. And at the end of the episode, it's revealed that those two people are not humans; they are monsters. But they do save their lives.
yeah. So we're that's as far as episode one got. Episode two comes out I think a couple days, but it does seem like there is like a very small time skip because like when season two starts, they have the pins. I think I do kind of remember them getting a pin in season one, but I don't
Oh yeah,
remember.
he find it in the drawer. He leaves him a note in the drawer with the
But
pen.
like they never that pin was never revealed to be anything other than the pin, right? Like they like
No,
when the episode
they talk
starts, they're
about
like,
it.
oh,
I mean,
here's this like holographic thing that like gives us a
he
map and
left it
stuff,
for
and it's
them.
interactive.
He left. That's it. He left it for them. He left it for them
Gotcha.
intentionally. Like they talk about it in it. I mean,
Gotcha. It just in right now the place that we're at, they just automatically know how to use it. There was never a point where they figured it out. It's just like, oh yeah, you do this and this, and that's how you do it. So I mean, it
well,
might
they're
have been
supposed
that
to
way
be
in
like
the manga
functional
too.
geniuses. So
I suppose, yeah. But yeah, this show it's definitely it definitely is now I guess a slightly different genre than season one because season one it reminds me like it reminds me of that live action show that came out years ago called Prison Escape or like yeah I think it was like
Prison
wasn't
Break.
that
Is it
Prison
Prison Break?
Break.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like you're like season one, you're like, oh, it's all about them getting out of prison, and in season two, they're out of prison. It's like, well, maybe you should change the name of the show now, but like the genre completely changes. But it kind of is the same vein, but it definitely maintains the same quality. So I'm definitely excited for it.
Yeah. Well, somebody said season episode one of season one gave me anxiety the whole time. Well, guess what? Season two is also going to give you anxiety like the whole time, almost guaranteed.
Yeah,
That's just the name of the game for this show. So yeah, it is what it is. But
yeah,
animation is picture perfect. This show has a lot of budget behind it, and you can tell that it has a lot of budget behind it. They spared no expense. So it looks absolutely gorgeous every step of the way. I think that they're going to puff up the next section to fill out season two because it's a little slower or it's a little faster. It goes through in the manga what's happening right now. I think they're going to. I'm trying not to give spoilers. They're going to increase the size of the section we're in right now with the anime. So, uh,
How much more? How many
ooh.
shows have we got left? We got 10 minutes, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can go over though. It's cool. We still have to spin the
All
wheel
right.
too.
Oh yeah. Next up, we have ReZero. Um, ReZero's at a pretty um, good point right now in terms like the plot. There's a lot of plot happening. You can't if you're jumping in right now where the season is. You absolutely can't do that because there's a lot in the like this is the second core. At the very least, if you want to jump in, you have to jump in at the start of the last core in order to kind of figure out what's going on right now. But even then,
Yeah, I
it's
had to go
still
back and
built on the
re-recap.
plot from the previous season. So ReZero is not really a show you can jump into. Like you especially have to watch the first core of this one because you get to figure out the particular situation regarding Rim. And so you can't just jump into this one. But I mean, it is pretty good. I just don't like. I don't really like the main character. I don't hate him, and I don't really like Amelia either. Although I don't hate her either. It's just like together. I don't like their relationship. It's so terrible in my opinion. But it is what it is. Overall, the show is still pretty good. I enjoy it a lot more when Amelia isn't the focus. Like last
Yeah.
core was about Echidna, this new girl, and like all the other characters that weren't Amelia, and it was really good. Whenever Amelia is the focus, it's like, all right, come on, let's go on to the next
You just
episode.
check out. Well, I'd watched
Yeah,
like the first 2 or 3 episodes of the first season of this, and I dropped it then. And then I watched the first one of these for this, and I'm not sad I dropped it. I don't really care. It didn't seem like compelling. It didn't seem any more compelling, with more time.
yeah,
So
you got to
yeah.
watch it when Amelia's not the focus. Like when the focus is either Rem or Ram or Echidna, it's like, man, this is like peak plot right here. But then when it's Amelia, it's like, I love you, I love you, I'll do whatever it takes because I love you more. Okay, thank you, please, can we move on?
You don't
So
appreciate their love, Erik?
it was just so terrible. Like so, the first season was like the big moment of the first season was when Rem confesses to Subaru, and everyone knows the meme "I love Amelia," right? And that was the big moment of Rem like just laying it all out there of how she feels to Subaru. And it the way there's a confession in the most recent episode where Subaru confesses to Amelia, and it's pretty much copy paste almost the exact same lines, but it sounds so terrible because we know how terrible of a person Subaru is, and it's like, please don't.
I'm telling you, crappy protagonists. I'm tired of that. This is a trope in anime that I think we should just get rid of. It's like terrible protags. No, thank you.
Yeah,
Well, the last
all
one is
right.
one that we didn't actually get to watch this week because it got delayed. So,
Yeah, it came out. The episode
I
came
have
out
a lot
like
of
2 hours ago, so we'll have to put
yeah.
episode one for next week. But I am excited for this
I
one.
I watched maybe the first 7 episodes of the first season of Doctor Stone, and the comedy was so stupid that I could not continue. So I
I
picked
don't
up the
even know what you're
manga.
talking about. Why is the comedy stupid?
It's so stupid. It's so stupid, okay? Like there's so much wrong with the show that makes like I liked it for the first couple of episodes and then it we got into some real dumb comedy. And the dumb comedy is going to get worse cuz I've read the whole manga up to current. And it's going to get worse, and I know I'm going to be in pain, and I know the female character designs are going to want to make me stab my eyes out and pluck out my eyeballs and put them on a platter to deliver them to the anime gods to maybe one day have better character design in the show because
Oh
it's
my god.
ridiculous. Okay, it's ridiculous. Any of the
I
types of
admit
animals,
the
like,
eyes and the
are they?
roundness of the girls' faces look really weird. I will admit it is weird, especially looking at it this still. But it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me.
No, man. What's the type of animals that can see like on every side, like prey animals that can see all around them because they have to look for predators? Are these women
Pigeons?
prey animals? I mean, because they can see the left and right in like a 180 vision. Okay, because that's what the character design looks like. It's garbage. Okay, it's garbage.
I
And
enjoy it. I
I
enjoy it.
can't deal with Senku's hair, okay? There's nothing functional or normal or even logical about Senku's hair. The only thing I've ever liked
We live in a world that has Yu-Gi-Oh! Like you
about
can't
we do,
diss his hair
I
when
didn't say it
Yu-Gi-Oh!
was
exists.
more logical in Yu-Gi-Oh, okay? I just
It's
said his
Yugi
hair.
can literally
Like,
Yugi can't get on airplanes because he literally can stab somebody with his hair. Like
it's true. But, however, Senku's dad, I'm in, okay? Like,
he was a good
freaking
guy.
Senku's dad. There's a whole spin-off manga about Senku's dad that I was. Yes, please give me more of that. I would like more of that. But yeah, no, I was on board for that. I I'm gonna watch this show because you want to watch this show and because it's gonna be hype, and that's fine. But man, it's real dumb, and I can't. And now the manga is getting real dumb too. Like I'm way further in the manga, like because the manga just keeps going and going and going. And
You keep saying that it's dumb, and I can't even think of any of the dumb comedy. Like what was dumb? Like they didn't really like make
there was these
like.
whole interstitials with dumb comedy. Like anything that's a flashback in the first season is full of dumb comedy. But there's so much more coming. Okay, there's so much more
Okay.
coming that you don't even know about. That's like the stupidest stuff you've ever heard of, and I dread it a little bit. I don't. I dread it.
All right. All
But don't
right.
worry, next week we'll talk to you about Dr. Stone, and I'll have more concrete examples from the new season of why I don't like it. So, you know.
Oh, Dr. Stone
But
is the one that's gonna be our like we were pretty much on the same page for all the shows up to Dr. Stone. But then Dr. Stone comes out and we're like, okay, Jess
yep,
hates it.
we're
I
gonna
love
fight
it.
about that. I don't
We'll
think we're
fight
on the
about
same
that
page
one.
about ReZero because I think it's kind of garbage. So I don't
Like
know.
so okay, Dr. Stone and ReZero. That's where the opinions differ.
Yeah, yeah. But that's okay. I'm glad you like the new one, the Wonder Egg Priority, because I thought that was really
Oh yeah.
weird. All right, so we got the wheel. Do we have the wheel?
All right.
Oh, it's right there. There's the wheel. Cool.
Oh,
So
it's an
every
actual
week,
physical wheel?
yeah, it's a wheel.
I love it's gonna do it electronically.
Oh, okay. Okay, so every week, we each have picked a handful of shows that we don't think the other one has seen. Some of them are good, some of them are terrible. And we're going to watch like at least one episode of whatever the show is. All of them are streaming in some way, shape, or form. I have included the worst anime I've ever seen in my life, so I really hope we spin that one, just so you have to be subject to it too.
Oh my god.
But here we go. Number 1.
What is it? What is it?
We have to watch Fushigi Yugi.
Oh my god. Oh my
All right,
god.
so our we're gonna have to watch the first episode of Shigeyuki. Last I looked, it was on Amazon, but it's also on Retro Crush. So if you need an access,
Another
Retro Crush is a
isekai.
free app, and I think you can watch it online too, as well as on a Roku. We're gonna watch the first episode of Fushigi Yugi, and everybody's like, "Oh, but that's a good show, and that's have you watched it recently? Have you though? If there's a dub, we're absolutely gonna watch the garbage dub too, because the dub sure is a thing. Okay, sure is a thing.
I guess besides Inuyasha, Fushigi Yugi is the first isekai I've watched. I watched maybe like the first 15 episodes because the DVDs were available at my public library, and so I literally went. There was when I was in elementary school. I literally went to my library every 2 days to borrow another anime DVD, and I pretty much watched every anime they had. They had some really weird stuff there too. They had one weird show called DNA Squared that I was like, why is it at a public library?
Well, now you're going to watch Fushigi Yugi, and you're going to see exactly how dated it is, because it's pretty dated. And yeah, I'm going to try to do 2 or 3 episodes maybe. But yeah, whatever you got time for, at least one. And next week we'll pick another anime that's either really dated or really terrible or possibly really good. There's like a handful in here that are actually pretty good.
So I pick shows that are kind of like hidden gems that like you don't hear a lot of talk about, but like they're still kind of good, or they might be interesting. So my stuff is a lot of stuff that's not like super like known.
I picked a lot of older stuff, and about half of it is stuff that I really enjoyed, and half of it is stuff that is absolute garbage because I like to torture. So, you know.
Oh my god.
We're
not watching Fighting Foodons.
Thank you guys for joining us for this segment of Anime Book Club. We will be back next week. Join us on Thursdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. Please subscribe if you want to see when we go live. We'd love to have you back. We'd love to hear your hot takes. We'd love to have you tell me exactly how bad my opinions are, because I guarantee I'm going to get a lot of that. I got a lot of hate when I told everybody that I didn't like Log Horizon in like my private group, and they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "No, I don't like Log Horizon. It is just what it is." Okay. But we are going to be moving into our next segment real shortly. So thank you, Erik, for
Bye.
joining me today, and I will see you next week.
I have more
Goodbye,
anime to
guys.
catch up. Song literally just aired. See y'all.